And as we sit here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
What you're about to watch is not a normal congressional hearing. This is a takedown. A sitting U.S. Attorney General was cornered, exposed, and told to resign live on camera in front of the entire country. And the man who did it wasn't some loudmouth politician looking for attention. He was a trained military lawyer who spent years breaking liars in courtrooms where the stakes were life and death. If you've been waiting for someone to actually say what needs to be said about the Epstein files, out loud, on the record, with receipts, this is that moment. Stay with me. Every single second of this matters. Representative Ted Lieu stood up in that chamber and looked Attorney General Pam Bondi directly in the eye. No flinching, no softening. He said it plain and he said it loud. There are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign the moment this hearing ends. Let that land for a second. The Attorney General of the United States, the top law enforcement officer in this country, was told to resign to her face on live television with cameras rolling and all of America watching, and that was just the opening. Because what came next was something most people weren't ready for. Ted Lieu is not a regular politician. Don't make that mistake. This man served as a JAG officer in the United States Air Force. He was a military lawyer. For years, his job was to sit across from war criminals, spies and traitors, and break them. He knows what a liar looks like. He knows how they breathe, how they dodge, how they spin. And today he walked into that hearing room with all of that experience loaded and ready. Pam Bondi had no idea what was coming. It started with two photographs, images of former Prince Andrew standing alongside Jeffrey Epstein at social events, smiling, comfortable, like old friends. Lieu put those photos on the screen and let the room go quiet. Then he asked Bondi a straightforward question. Under the law Congress passed, you were allowed to redact the faces of victims in these photos to protect their identities. You edited this victim's face because the law required it. Is that correct? Bondi confirmed it. Yes. She redacted the victims' faces in compliance with congressional law. Lieu nodded. His voice dropped. Calm, sharp. Now show those photographs again. The room watched. You just admitted, Lieu said slowly, that we are looking at a victim of sex trafficking in these images. Pause. He let every person in that room catch up to where he was going. Then he said it. According to the Federal Victims of Trafficking Protection Act, it is not only Jeffrey Epstein who is guilty of a crime. Anyone who used his operation also committed a crime. Anyone. Full stop. The law doesn't whisper this, it screams it. If you used Epstein's services, you are an accomplice. That is not an opinion. That is the law of the United States of America. His voice began to rise. The anger was there, but it was controlled. The kind of anger that comes from someone who has been watching justice fail for years and has finally had enough. That is exactly why I find it absolutely reprehensible that you are sitting here trying to protect Epstein's clients, including former Prince Andrew. He pointed the screen. Last July, your Justice Department dropped the case against Epstein's co-conspirators. Your own department's July 2025 memo says, and I'm quoting directly, we did not find evidence to support initiating an investigation against uncharged third parties. He held up the photographs again. These two photographs, right here, staring back at you. This is evidence of a crime. This is more than enough to open an investigation into Prince Andrew. So I'm asking you directly, Attorney General Bondi, why did you close this investigation? Why has Prince Andrew not been prosecuted? The room went still. Everyone waited. Bondi's answer told you everything you needed to know. She didn't answer the question. She pivoted immediately. I don't think you were asking these questions when Merrick Garland was Attorney General. There it is, the same move. Every single time. Corner them with a fact, and they pointed someone else. Merrick Garland, Bill Barr, the Obama years. Someone else. Always someone else. Never them. Never now. Never accountability. Lieu wasn't having it. He took his time back. But here's the part that separates Lieu from every other politician doing this dance. He didn't let Bondi off the hook by going partisan. He looked her in the eye and said something that took real guts. I agree with you on one thing. I called for the Epstein files to be examined during the Biden administration too. Merrick Garland failed. Bill Barr failed. Alex Acosta failed. There has been a chain of failure across every administration that touched this case. He stopped. But you are in charge now. You have the power to change this. You have the authority to hold these men accountable, and instead of doing that, you are protecting them. That is not partisan politics. That is accountability with no party loyalty attached. Lieu went after Garland, Barr, and Acosta just as hard. But right now, today, Bondi holds the power, and Bondi is choosing to do nothing. Before we go further, drop a comment right now. Tell me, do you think any attorney general in the last 10 years has actually wanted justice for Epstein's victims, or has this always been about protecting the names on that list? I want to hear what you think. This conversation matters. Then Lieu shifted gears, and the temperature in that room changed completely. I want to talk about another name, Lieu said. Donald Trump. Bondi tried to cut in. Can I respond? Lieu kept going. He didn't even slow down. Like Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties and events with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there underage girls at those parties? At any gathering that Trump attended with Epstein? Simple question, yes or no. Was an investigation opened? Was evidence collected? Were witnesses brought in and interviewed? Bondi's response was one for the history books. This is ridiculous. They are trying to distract everyone from the great things Donald Trump has accomplished. There is no evidence that Donald Trump committed any crime. Everyone knows this. Lieu cut her off instantly. I'm taking my time back. Bondi kept going. This has been the most transparent presidency in history. He's the one who wanted those files opened. Lieu talked over her. I've heard your answer. You said there is no evidence. Remember that. Remember exactly what you just said, because what was coming next would either make Bondi look like a liar or force her to explain why she said what she said. This is the moment, the one that people will be replaying for years. Lieu reached for another document. He was composed, steady, like a man who had been waiting for exactly this moment. I am now entering into evidence a witness statement, he said, from an individual who contacted the FBI's National Threat Operations Center. He looked directly at Bondi. Because I believe you just lied under oath. The room exploded. Bondi came out of her seat. Don't you dare accuse me of a crime. Lieu didn't move. He didn't raise his voice. He just kept going, because that is what someone trained to break people in military courtrooms does. He doesn't rattle. He doesn't rattle. He doesn't react. He presses forward. I believe you lied under oath. It is recorded on this video. You stated there is no evidence of any crime. Here is the witness statement I am presenting to this committee. Then he described what the witness said. And it is one of the most disturbing accounts connected to this entire case. This witness was a limousine driver. His job was to drive Donald Trump. While doing that, he overheard a phone call. Trump talking to Jeffrey Epstein. The content of that conversation made this man so furious that he nearly stopped the car and physically confronted Trump right then and there. But that was not the worst part. This driver also encountered a young woman. She told him she had been sexually assaulted by both Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. At the same time, that young woman was later found shot in the head. She died. Law enforcement at the scene said it did not look like a suicide, but the case was closed anyway. And this witness, this man who contacted the FBI, who gave them his full account, who handed them everything he had, was never interviewed. Not once. No one from the Justice Department has spoken to him. His information went nowhere. Lieu's voice hit a different level. The control was still there, but underneath it was something raw. No one at the Department of Justice has spoken to this man. You need to reach out to this witness immediately. He stopped, took a breath. Epstein deserves to rot in hell. Every man who used his operation deserves the same. And while you sit here today, more than 1,000 victims of sex trafficking are still waiting, and you have not held a single man accountable. Then the line that will go down in the record books. Shame on you. If you have any honor, any at all, you should resign the moment this hearing is over. If you have any dignity left, walk out that door and step down. Bondi wanted to respond. Can I reply? Lieu was flat, cold. I didn't ask you a question. Bondi tried again, this time pivoting to crime in California. Lieu repeated it like a wall. I didn't ask a question, then chaos. Other members jumped in. The committee chair stepped in. Lieu's time was up. The moment was over, but the damage was done, and it was permanent. Let's break down why this hearing matters beyond the drama. Ted Lieu accused the sitting Attorney General of the United States of perjury. Lying under oath before Congress, that is a federal crime. That carries prison time. That ends careers. And he didn't say it as a talking point. He said it with a document in his hand on camera with every word recorded for the official congressional record. What did he have to back it up? A witness statement. A man who drove Trump, heard the phone call, met the victim, and watched that victim die under circumstances that law enforcement itself said did not look like a suicide. And that witness has never been called in, never interviewed, never given a seat at the table. Why not? Who decided to ignore him? Who gave that order? These are questions that still don't have answers, and they should be keeping people up at night. Bondi said there is no evidence. Lieu held up the document and said, "It's right here. One of them is lying." Lieu told you who. Now let's talk about Prince Andrew, because this story is not just an American one. It is reverberating across the United Kingdom just as loudly. The photographs are public. Prince Andrew at events alongside a convicted sex trafficker. His face is right there for the world to see. Congressional law said clearly, protect the victims, edit their faces, keep their identity safe. What did the Justice Department actually do? It published the victims' names, their phone numbers, their home addresses, and it guarded the names of the accused. It did the exact opposite of what the law demanded. The investigation into Andrew was closed in July 2025. Reason given, insufficient evidence. Lieu held up the photographs. Two people in the same frame, one a known sex trafficker, the other a member of the British royal family, and the Justice Department says there is not enough evidence to even open an investigation. Lieu asked, what is this if not evidence? Bondi had no answer. Because there is no answer if that holds up. Then there is the Trump question, the sharpest edge of the entire hearing. Lieu asked something simple. Were underage girls present at parties where Trump and Epstein were together? He asked whether an investigation was ever open, whether witnesses were ever questioned. Bondi called it ridiculous. Think about that for a moment. There are over 1,000 documented victims. The files have been made partially public. A limousine driver came forward with a direct account. There is an allegation of rape involving 2 men. There is a death that law enforcement flagged as suspicious, and the person responsible for prosecuting federal crimes in this country called the question ridiculous. What is the job of the Attorney General? To investigate, to pursue the truth, to follow evidence wherever it leads, even when it leads somewhere uncomfortable. There is nothing ridiculous about asking whether crimes were committed. That is the entire point of the position. This is the moment where you have to ask yourself, if this were anyone other than Trump, would the question still be called ridiculous? Would the investigation still be closed? Would the witness still be sitting at home, waiting for a phone call that never comes? And if your answer to those questions is no, then you already know what is really happening here. Lieu's military background is not a side detail in this story. It is the whole story. Career politicians go into these hearings and they perform. They grandstand. They make speeches for the cameras and then go home having changed nothing. That is not what Ted Lieu did today. This is a man who spent years in military courtrooms conducting formal interrogations of individuals charged with war crimes, espionage, and treason. He does not rattle. He does not get distracted. He does not let a subject change the topic without calling it out. He reads people. He watches how they answer. He listens to what they avoid saying just as much as what they actually say. And when he looked at Pam Bondi today and said, "I believe you lied under oath," he said it the way a prosecutor says it when he already knows the answer. Not as an accusation thrown in anger, as a conclusion reached through evidence. That statement is now part of the permanent congressional record. It cannot be edited, cannot be taken back. Bondi will carry that accusation until she answers it directly, and she has not answered it. Let's talk about how it ended, because the ending tells you everything about where things actually stand. When Lieu's time ran out, Bondi was finally given the floor to respond. The committee chair allowed it. This was her moment, her chance to address the witness statement, to answer the Prince Andrew question, to explain why the investigation was closed, to respond to the accusation of perjury. What did she do with that opportunity? She talked about crime in California. She brought up unauthorized immigrant statistics. A Republican congressman then took the floor and read out a list of numbers: 45,561 criminal immigrants, 31 murders, 661 assaults, 574 thefts, 184 robberies. Not one word about Epstein. Not one sentence about the 1,000 victims. Not a single answer to any of Lieu's questions. That is not a defense. That is an escape. And when someone changes the subject that hard, that fast, it tells you they have no answer to the actual question. Now here are the facts. Just the facts. Cold and clear. More than 1,000 sex trafficking victims are documented on record. Not one person connected to Epstein's operation has been prosecuted. Prince Andrew's photographs are public, and the investigation into him has been shut down. A witness came forward with a direct account involving Trump, reached out to the FBI, and was never interviewed. Victims' identities, names, phone numbers, home addresses were made public. While the names of those accused were protected, 3 million pages of files remained classified. And the Attorney General said on the record that there is no evidence. Right before a document was placed in front of her face. Someone is lying. Lieu said who, and it is all on record. This story is not over. It has barely started. The accusation of perjury is entered into the congressional record, and it will not disappear. The witness who contacted the FBI is still waiting to be interviewed. The classified files, 3 million pages of them, are still hidden, and more than 1,000 people are still waiting for justice that has been promised, delayed, and denied across multiple administrations and multiple attorneys general. Will Bondi resign? No, almost certainly not. Accountability is not something this administration does willingly. But Ted Lieu did something today that cannot be undone. He stood in front of the entire country and said, on camera, on record, with evidence in hand, shame on you. That moment belongs to history now. It cannot be erased. It cannot be erased. It cannot be spun away. Every person who watched it knows what they saw. Lieu criticized Garland. He criticized Barr. He criticized Acosta. He is not protecting any party. He is demanding that the law, the actual law, be applied to every person who used Jeffrey Epstein's operation, regardless of who they are, what title they hold, or what side of the aisle they sit on. That is not politics. That is what justice is supposed to look like. If you believe that what happened in that hearing room today deserves to be seen by more people, share this right now. Don't let this get buried. The algorithm will try to push it down. The news cycle will try to move on. Don't let them. Share it with someone who needs to see it. Subscribe so you don't miss what comes next, because this case is moving, and when it breaks open, you need to be here for it. Over 1,000 people are counting on someone to keep talking. Don't go quiet now.